Welcome back to First Gen Wealth. Very special episode because for the first time ever, we have a repeat guest. That's not me. So Leo Deason of Woodworth Commercial, Owosso Township Fire Department.
Yep.
And anything else exciting going on in your life?
I think that's it for right now.
Yeah.
I'm keeping those two close to my heart and running with them.
Cool. Well, I wanted to chat with you because Randy isn't here, and but you've been pretty heavily involved with a couple projects downtown Owosso here. One, a very successful grand opening last night of Sakura, the
Absolutely
Japanese Thai themed restaurant. I've heard a lot of really good reviews about the service, the food, the portions, the price, the whole ambiance.
Oh yeah, I can't say enough good things about it so far. I mean, we originally, when they reached out and we're considering locations, I was like, Shiawassee County, you'd be a shoo-in. They had a location over in Jackson. I mean, 4.9 stars, phenomenal portion sizes. And the owners are just good people. They reach out, they want to be at your table talking to you and getting to know the people in the community. And like, that's the kind of stuff Shiawassee County needs all the time, is just, business owners that care, you know?
So obviously these people, they have a restaurant in Jackson, and you were the one that brought this lease to Randy and I and said, hey, this is something that we think we could do in the space. Like, how do you get connected with a group like that that's in several different counties over? And then how do you convince them to say, yeah, Owosso, let's do it?
Yeah, absolutely. So originally, I think that they reached out on a specific listing that we have. Listings are very important for, bringing things to our area, because you get something that's interesting. I had what was Abiding in the Vine, kind of a turnkey restaurant space. So they called me, and after doing some digging with them, they're looking all over the state of Michigan. They're like, we're checking every available restaurant, every avenue that we can check out. Never heard of Owosso. And I said, hey, come, let's grab lunch. I want to take you to some of these restaurants around here. We will, hang out, check out this location, check out some other spots, and see if Owosso's for you. And basically it's just, convincing them, hey, this is the area I live, right? This is the area that I want to see your restaurant at. So bringing them to the town, toured them around, kind of convinced them, hey, listen, Owosso is an upcoming place with a very real need for restaurants. You can't be afraid of the other competition that's in town, because hibachi, Thai, it's not a thing in Owosso. And as far as I know, it's never been a thing. No. So, I mean, it really took a lot of going back and forth with them. It ultimately wasn't going to work at the Abiding the Vine spot. They needed different style hood. I mean, they focus a lot on hibachi, so they like much more exposure than my building could bring. But I was like, guys, we have to have you here. Let me find out some other options. And that's when I called you guys.
Yeah. So that was, that was May of 2022, I think, that you had first said, hey, they're ready to sign a lease. And that particular building, Randy and I were involved with a couple other partners who were really instrumental in getting that building up and running from what it used to be was Risto's Bistro, a huge open bar, that we converted into Foster Coffee and then eventually Lily Pearls. And, we couldn't have done that without them. But we kind of had a different vision of that space and what we were willing to invest in to bring that restaurant. So it took some time. From the May of 2022, I don't think we started construction until November of 2023.
Oh, yeah.
So, and they had signed a lease, and then, Victor, the owner, is calling me with wanting updates, and I'm ignoring him. And because I didn't really know what was going to come of it. Randy and I had to buy out other partners before we could take on that build out. So, was there ever a time where they that you had to resell them on, no, stick with it, it's worth it?
Yeah, there were quite a few times. I mean, because you kind of run into these situations sometimes, especially with build outs. I mean, viewers might not know this, but some of these deals, they take years. They take years to iron out. And a lot of times the promises of, hey, we can do this quickly, it takes one wrench to completely change that. And our building here is a great example of that with the elevator, right? I mean,
this building that we're in right now,
the building that we're in right now has had an elevator framed, shafted, ready to go, just waiting on electrical hookup for years. And it takes one wrench like that to really throw something off. So there were quite a few times those guys reached out and they're like, hey, you know, we're getting concerned. We're not sure if this is going to happen. Like the timeline keeps shifting. And it was like, guys, I don't care if it's a year from now or if it's 5 years from now, this community needs a restaurant that's high quality food. And you guys can bring that. I don't care if you need to do another location for now. Regardless, we need this location to happen in this community and it will crush it. And I think that the proof's in the pudding. You haven't been yet.
I haven't been, no.
You're training for physique competition, right?
I am, yeah. So my diet right now for the next 22 days, today is what, August 23rd, 2nd? 20, whatever it is, 23rd,
I think.
So for the next 22 days, I have a very strict diet. And there's nothing on that menu that I can really go and try.
You know, they do have sweet potato rolls there and vegetable rolls.
Yeah.
It's still rice. I mean, so yes, I don't know if you can do rice.
There's also like, not only am I eating specific things, but I have the quantity and the portion size and all that stuff's measured out daily. It is, I think the thing I'm most excited about to have this thing over with is to not measure my food.
Right.
I literally to the ounce, to the gram. It's a huge pain in the ass.
Yeah.
But I do like the results. I feel good. I look good. I had to buy new clothes. Like it's, it's that part's fun. Like it's, you know, it's exciting, but it's, I'm ready for it to be over for sure.
You know, I didn't get a chance to tell you this the other day, but in my friend group, we have a competition going. We kind of, one of our friends, he is convinced he could be a comedian. We kind of believe in him. Like, honestly, he's a hilarious dude. Keegan Adams, if you're watching this, he's a really funny dude. And over the years, we've kind of been like, hey man, you should really try a stand-up routine, stuff like that. And we're trying, originally it was, hey, we're going to sit down in a room. We're going to, you in front of your 3 brothers, couple friends, whatever, you're going to give 1 minute, you know, and just 1 minute stand-up routine. We're going to see if it's funny. But it's kind of evolved now into, we're all going to prep a minute. We're all going to do these different things. And lately we've been talking about punishments for the worst stand-up routine. Nice. And one of them would be a physique competition with no training. So, I mean, me would, you know, in a physique competition would be hilarious. Yeah. I'm definitely, I would say I'm the least in shape out of that group, but I also think I'm pretty funny. So, I have confidence I won't lose, but we've talked about different punishments and that's definitely on the table.
That's funny. That reminds me of like some of the punishments you see for fantasy football leagues.
Oh, yeah.
Like the last place person has to do this or do that. Like there's some pretty crazy stuff out there that we've seen.
I just saw one the other day where it was like, you have to stay in this restaurant until somebody kicks you out. And the person just like kept ordering like the smallest thing and they were there for like 12 hours. so funny.
Oh, I want to think we need to do something like that. That's fun. Oh yeah. That sounds fun.
Yeah. We need to get more creative in our punishments and we need more competitions office to office because
I think after this physique show, there's a good opportunity, competition or not, that I will get kicked out of a restaurant because I will want to. I will just be there eating all day long. So
you might as well buy a membership at Jade for you can eat for a few weeks.
Yes. So I appreciate that insight on Sakura because I think it's important, like you said, that people know like it just doesn't happen. Like you have to really put in the effort.
Absolutely.
Resell it. This is years in the making, and inside of those years, there's frustration, there's doubt, there's all sorts of negative emotions that make you want to stop or make you rethink or want to do something else.
Every hurdle you can think of is there.
And to finally have them open it is so exciting for our community. It's much needed, like you say. We still have room for a couple more restaurants, 3, 4 right downtown Owosso. And I think when you think of like destination towns, like where you want to go, there's a lot of restaurants. There's a lot of bars. And there are some restaurant owners in town that may think like, I don't want that competition or it's going to take away from me. And I don't think that's the case at all because in our town, it's for so long, there's only been like, well, you want to go here or you want to go there? And it becomes stale.
Right.
And when you have a huge variety of places to choose from, now I want to go out. Where should we go? It's you're constantly thinking about, we need to go out. We need to do this. And it draws in people from other communities. If you look at our surrounding communities, this could be any community, Durand, Ovid, New Lothrop, whatever. There's not a lot of restaurants. So now you start drawing from those communities and they make a destination to Owosso. And restaurants are, to me, restaurants and bars, clubs, nightlife, whatever, is the staple of a
Thriving.
thriving downtown, because now you have people that want to come for the other shopping experiences, whether it's, the cool little boutique clothing stores we have, or Aviator Jane, or whatever it may be. And everyone certainly benefits from having more restaurants. So,
Oh, absolutely.
so we'd love to see you be on the hunt.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Find us more.
We're constantly on the hunt. I mean, really, the data surrounding it supports it. I'm a pretty big data guy. I like to look at everything and say, hey, this is what's going on in our community. And you look at some of the numbers where it's like, hey, nationally, the average person goes to their restaurant or favorite restaurant like twice a month. That's an average report, 2 to 3 times a month. Here it's like 8 times a month, because there's not enough options for people to go other places. So it's like you can use some of those statistics to sell to some of these people that don't necessarily know what Owosso is, because there isn't enough restaurants and nightlife here.
Right.
In my time here, I've lived here for 7 years now. But when I first moved here, there was nothing, and it's grown substantially. We had Lula's for a long time, and that was huge.
Mm-hmm.
And looking at, there's even companies out there that just study the data. They pull cell phone records, like Placer AI. I don't know if you've ever checked any of that out, but they can say like, hey, how long has somebody from Metro Detroit come through Owosso? How many times do they do it a month? And where are they stopping, and for how long that duration is? And they kind of turn it into a bell curve to say like, hey, these people are coming for these reasons. And restaurants, when you look at like popular restaurants in Fenton, in Royal Oak, in Bloomfield Hills, some of these like upscale restaurants, it's like you're getting more people spending more time more often in your communities, and it's directly correlated. Like getting more restaurants here that are better, higher quality restaurants directly impacts the entire community. It's not just a one man or one industry show. It all helps.
That's incredible. I mean, I'm not surprised when you say that, but I'm like, it's not something I think about when you like the data piece where you can track now, like who's coming into our community. I know John Bilfus used to say, like when you mentioned Lula's, he would track his credit card sales because they got to put in their zip code or whatever. And like 50% of his sales were outside of the Owosso zip code,
100%.
which is, I mean, to me, it's
crazy.
Incredible. And I think you're going to see something similar with Sakura. But I want to shift gears a little bit to talk about the Armory, because I know there has been a recent transition of ownership, and you've been involved with some of the leasing stuff. When you pitch the Armory, first off, for the people who don't know, the Armory is this beautiful, used to be a National Guard.
Armory.
Armory. Like from the early,
Shooting range,
early
training
1900s.
facility.
It looks like an amazing castle.
Yeah.
And it was, very underutilized for decades. And then your dad, coincidentally enough, not planned, but your dad was instrumental in converting that space. The Chamber of Commerce ended up purchasing it, redeveloping it, and then created it into like an incubator space. It's got a bunch of different mixed-use tenants. So I want to get your take on, like, when you're pitching that to potential tenants, like, number one, who are you looking for? How do you like say this is the right spot compared to other places? Because it is a little bit unique. There's no signage or anything like that. So, like, what are some of the things you run up against of like why they don't want to list or lease that space? And then like, give me some idea of like what you're up against.
Yeah, absolutely. And bringing my dad into it, like, is definitely when I was moving to Owosso was right in the heart of that development. So it's like I have kind of an attachment to the Armory. I love the Armory. I saw what it was. I saw what it became. And now it's an easy pitch for me for the Armory because it's the premier spot. It is where all of the premier office users are in downtown Owosso, is in these brand new, fully functioning, high amenity office spaces that are very easy to keep track of. You don't have to manage your utilities. You don't have to manage, where am I going to find extra space or conference room? It's all very easy because it's all included in your rent. Your Wi-Fi is included. They just made it an amenity heavy, very quality building. So in terms of like how I pitch it, it's really just dependent on who is looking, right? I mean, if you are a financial guru that's coming to town and you want to start your network here, there is no better place, because there's nowhere else that has other office users and professionals meeting in one place in Owosso. You've got like the building, like the Exchange building is a good comparable, kind of dated, but also a very good office space. You just have less community there. It's the Armory's ecosystem is incredible. It's where the Chamber of Commerce meets. It's where Rotary Club meets. It's where, ARC has their bingo nights. It's a huge community draw that creates a different kind of traffic. It's not necessarily consumer traffic that's always walking through there. It's business to business ecosystem traffic. So it's just great for office users like that to have that sense of community immediately when you sign a lease. You're in.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned the Exchange building. One difference would be like, you go there, you're paying for your own utilities. You're paying
100%.
for your own, gas, electric, water, Wi-Fi, all the other expenses. If you want a conference room, it's got to be built into your space,
into your lease.
You know
Absolutely.
what I mean? Where the Armory does have the community conference room where you book online and that kind of stuff.
And the conference room is just unbelievable. They're
overlooking
exactly.
the river,
If you
yeah.
haven't seen the conference room at the Armory, take a look at it. They have a huge balcony overlooking the river. You could probably fit 40 or 50 people in there. I mean, it's a massive conference room. And if you're a tenant of the Armory, rent it out as much as you want. They want to see it get used for your corporate events. You have your company Christmas parties there. Like, they want to see people use that space, which is just like, it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. With so many people coming in and out of there every day, is there ever, is there potential for retail in that? There has never been any type of retail business.
So the complaints for retail that we've gotten, because we have shown it to some retail tenants, it's definitely not off the table. You would just have to have more of an online basis, because a majority of the people that seem to be going in there are strictly there for work. They're going there for office use. They're going there for a quiet facility. It would almost be like you would have to transfer more people, and it very well could happen in the future where you're like, hey, we're going to do 5 or 6 retail outlets in this location at once. That kind of system could work. But the big issue that we've had in the past, which I understand might be changing, is that the Armory's historical code would not allow us exterior building signage, which, as you know, for walk score and retail is important.
Yeah, and that it's historically not known for retail, so
Right.
you would have to really have either a like you said, an online presence, or you have to be kind of established, I think, where you have a following already, where you can now bring that customer base to you, as opposed to opening up and hoping that people just find you. That'd be difficult.
It would be great for something like hey, if you own a custom suit company and it's like, hey, I'm going to make my appointment, come in, get fit for a suit, something like that, where it's your presence and your grab is online, but then you're bringing them to a very high level suite. It would be perfect for that.
Yeah.
But as far as like foot traffic, hey, I'm going to open,
at least as of now, who knows? That could change. Well, you mentioned the historical code. So part of what your dad did, and he was the president of the Chamber of Commerce at the time. So there was all sorts of different tax credits, historical tax credits. So some of the Armory is like exactly the way it was from the early 1900s, which is really cool. It's just a beautiful building. But when you get those tax credits, you have, for a certain amount of time, you can't change the historical nature of the building.
Absolutely.
Which is where that exterior signage comes in. That time is up. So there could be, for the right tenant, naming rights or some type of waymaking sign now that it could be done. But there's also the challenge of, it is such a beautiful building.
Absolutely.
And where do you put it, and how do you do it in a way that still ties in with that building?
Fit the vibe. Yeah, I mean,
you don't like
you don't want a big
lights on the
neon
outside
sign,
or even like it's just hard to imagine that building with, I don't want to say something that looks tacky. You know what I mean? So it's got to be the right situation. Even though there's no restrictions
locationally,
now.
because like I feel like Connections Church, they just moved downstairs to take over a much larger suite, and like on that side of the building, it'd probably be okay. You know, I mean, because on the side of the building, it's in like the back left corner would be their entrance, and it wouldn't be as visible from the street as you're driving by. But yeah, you know, the front and center office space, and having like you know, I can't think of an example.
Yeah,
but
Edward
Halloween
Jones
USA
sign or something.
Like,
Whatever.
It's like, that would definitely be a different different kind of signage situation.
Well, that's cool. I really appreciate the perspective, because I think that it is such a cool space, and it's unique, and it's definitely the right fit for so many different types of users. And I would have never thought of the custom suit person, but you know, even like some of these boutique clothing stores who have a big online presence that are like doing the online events and things like that. You know, that's a retail situation that could work.
Yeah, and I think the model for retail in general has been shifting over the years. You know, I mean, you can't, unless you're, you know, a retail user on a front in Disney World, or you have like some sort of crazy foot traffic that's generating thousands and thousands of people in your door per day. It's like you have to have an online presence. Yeah. You know, you can only survive in like a mall world for so long without having some sort of online presence. So like a lot of these smaller towns, having an online retailer with a location, so you can say, hey, that's super cute, I want to try on that shirt. And then you can go in, try it on. You already know what you're looking for. You're seeking out that business. I think that model is going to long-term be what a lot of people have to end up shifting to regardless. Yeah.
Well, definitely appreciate your perspective. And before we go, I want to get some insight into your world as to like something else exciting that's coming to Owosso. And I'll give you one example that I get asked about all the time that I really don't know because I'm not involved with it anyway, but Pita-Way. So maybe you can offer like anything on that, like regards when they're opening, and then anything else that might be coming to Owosso that's like top secret that only our millions of viewers will find out about and nobody else.
So I'm not sure what I'm allowed to release on the top secret side.
Well, let's start with Pita-Way.
Start with Pita-Way. Pita-Way is announced, and I think at this point they're 2 weeks or so away from opening.
Oh wow!
But you know that definitely ties back to the long deal. I mean, I started touring Owosso locations with Pita-Way in 2020. I mean, and we're just now 2024 starting to open.
Oh, I think they initially signed a letter of intent for this building on the main floor back in 2020.
Yep.
And then
so I mean, it's been years of working with these guys and saying, hey, and really selling them even on their current location. I was like, guys, at this point, we don't have another new build for you to go into. Like the projections for new builds, you're going to pay $25 to $35 a square foot triple net. Most companies, a lot of companies can't afford to do that. So it was a lot of, hey, we can retrofit this. And I was sending them leads and brochures and different projects where I'm like, hey, let's make this shoe fit for years, you know? And down here was, you know, the downstairs of this building was definitely one that we went pretty far into that. Yeah, we had engineering drawings. It was almost downtown. Again, he believed in downtown. It just ended up being, what was it, like $500,000 or something? It was way too expensive
to build out what they needed. And
need a hood vent fan, and if it's a 3-story building, you have to go all the way up to the roof. So very expensive hood vent fan. But yeah, I mean that deal, we are super excited. I don't know if anybody, you know, if any of the listeners haven't tried Pita-Way, I would rival it to almost any Mediterranean food place. And I would include like Woody's Oasis, you know, some of these places where it's like, this is authentic where you go, but it's like a Qdoba for Mediterranean food. So you wouldn't expect that level of quality.
I've never been there and I would not expect that level
I mean,
I've had some good Mediterranean food.
Phenomenal Mediterranean food. I mean, it's really more about the flavor profiles for me for Mediterranean food. And they knock it out of the park. It's all of their flavor profiles are exactly what you want. And their model is simple, happy, you know, easy going. You go get exactly what you want.
That's really cool.
Phenomenal. I'm very excited for them to open.
Well, we got some cool restaurants. I can't wait until the evening of September 14th to try some of this stuff. They'll be open by then, so that's cool. But Leo, congratulations on being the first repeat guest of First Gen Wealth.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's been incredible. I love catching up with you, man.
Yeah.
And hopefully we get to see you in a physique show because you're terrible.
Absolutely. No, I'm a great comedian.
All right, good deal. Well, thank you again, and appreciate you listening. And tune in next time. Talk to you soon.